Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel for 6 things that we learned from Manchester City 1, Chelsea 0 in the Premier League. Effectively ending Chelsea's title aspirations, whatever there was left of those aspirations after a disappointing December. And Manchester City look as though they are ready to win the Premier League again, retain the trophy. And there was a golfing class between the two sides today. I think Thomas Tuchel got it wrong. We're going to go into what exactly I thought was wrong as we go through the 6 things that we learned in today's video. If you're not yet subscribed to GBFC, I'd love to ask you to do so. And I know it is never anything positive when Chelsea don't win, but if you could, drop a like on today's video, at least for me, that would be very good indeed. Kevin De Bruyne scores a wonder goal, but he certainly scored better goals in his life, but it was still an exceptional strike. Question maybe, should Kepa have saved it, or is it just easy for us to jump on the bandwagon of Kepa concedes again from outside the area, and because it was a good strike, should we just be saying that Kepa should be better at making saves from shots outside the area, or was it a good goal? We're going to get into that as well later in this video. But box number 1 is a red for Romelu Lukaku. There is a bit of an argument that could be had here that the actual balls into him, the passing, was atrocious today from Chelsea. We could not get the ball to Romelu Lukaku. However, when you're a £100 million striker, unfortunately, I have to keep bringing it up. When you're a striker who has been doing what he's doing with the media and not delivering on the pitch, you've got to back that up with better performances than what we saw today. There was a moment where Chelsea were 3-on-1. It was Romelu Lukaku, Marcos Alonso doing the best impression he possibly can of someone sprinting. On the left of him, Hakim Ziyech on the right. It is an absolute no-brainer that you lay it off to Marcos Alonso in this situation. We know how good Alonso can be moving onto the ball to strike it. He gives it to Hakim Ziyech. And I honestly think that there's never been, in my mind, less of a telepathic connection between two Chelsea players than what we saw today with Hakim Ziyech and Romelu Lukaku. They were both as bad as one another, to be honest. I think Christian Pulisic in that front three, not that there's any credit I can give today to any of the attacking players, if I'm honest. There's absolutely nothing good to be said, but at least Pulisic looked as though he was trying. Ziyech didn't look interested. Some of the passes that he were making were just so far away from anybody that I don't really see how he managed to last as long into the game as he did. If it was me, I could have hiked off Ziyech at half-time. Romelu Lukaku, though, he's got to do more. And when I was watching him play at Manchester United, it's like there's a stark difference between the heavy-legged Lukaku that we saw at times at United and then the sharp, quick, agile Lukaku that we saw at Inter and in the first couple of games of his Chelsea second part of his career. Today, he looked as though he was heavy-legged again. He doesn't look as fit as he was earlier this season. And as much as the service into him was atrocious, he didn't involve himself in the game at all. He's a big striker. He said he didn't want to be known as a target man, but sometimes when you're kind of playing as if you're a target man and you're as big as you are, Romelu, you've got to do more. You've got to be at least putting your body on the line up against those big Manchester City defenders. They bullied him today. John Stones, Emerick Laporte, fantastic. There's not much bad I can say about the Chelsea backline because we didn't do too much wrong. And it was a good finish from Kevin De Bruyne that got them the win. But Romelu Lukaku, I thought today, had a dreadful game. We move into box number 2, and it's Hakim Ziyech. I have kind of already spoken about him because of that lack of communication or connection, telepathy, whatever you want to call it on the football field between him and Romelu Lukaku. I have praised Ziyech a lot more in recent games and that he's actually started and featured in because I thought his form had changed quite a lot. I thought Ziyech was offering a lot more, particularly when it came to running, defensive work rate too. But today, I do not know how he could start after a performance like that. I would have given him, if I was doing player ratings, I'd have given him about a 3. And that isn't me trying to be mean, but he didn't offer anything in this game today for Chelsea. And I think it's a real shame because there's a lot of things that we could talk about here regarding intensity and urgency from Chelsea. And even when the game was at 0-0, I never thought we were going to score. I never thought we were going to win the game because I thought going forward, we couldn't string passes together. There was no combinational passing in the final third today from Chelsea whatsoever. And I think Hakim Ziyech was one of the bigger culprits for that. We move into box number 3, and I've given a yellow to Kepa because he makes a brilliant save to deny Jack Grealish in the first half. There's almost a calamitous moment where he hits it into Aspi at the beginning of the game, and then you start thinking maybe this is going to be another Chelsea Maurizio Sarri trip to the Etihad. Bit different now. We're a lot better side now. But Kepa, I gave him a yellow because even though a lot of people will say it's a wonder goal, again, I used to be a keeper. I played in goal for 8-9 years. I'm not saying I'm at a professional standard so that I would have saved it, but when you see the dive, it doesn't really look as though he leaps into it. He kind of just falls down to the side, and I think he's got to be doing better there. He's got to be anticipating Kevin De Bruyne when he shakes off N'Golo Kante's tackle. Kepa knows that there is a potential long shot coming from Kevin De Bruyne. And I think in that kind of situation, he's got to save it. It's down low. It's not like Kepa's not the tallest keeper. And if it was in the top corner, you can say absolutely no chance in hell. But I think Kepa could have done better there. I think overall, he's looked a lot better since he's been back in the team. And I'm not as unconfident as I used to be with Kepa, but there's just something about the goal that I just think he might be able to save it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Am I being too harsh here? I'm not sure I am, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Box number 4, the only positive that I could think of today in terms of trying to progress the play forward for Chelsea to create opportunities that we only managed to really do in the first 3 or 4 minutes of the second half, I've given a green to Mateo Kovacic. I think he kind of was the only tenacious player out there on the field today for Chelsea. I thought Rudiger had a good game again. Thiago Silva, decent. Malang Sarr, I actually thought he did okay. Aspi doesn't offer as much as he used to anymore. And I think Kovacic, it could not have been a green box for any of the attackers. Kante wasn't at his absolute best. And I thought Kovacic was really the only player who ever looked as though he could have transitioned Chelsea from winning the ball back to getting it forward. Man City dominated possession in both halves of the game. And to be honest, I think it's almost a bit fraudulent of me to spend too much time talking about a green box. We move into box number 5, and it's a red for Thomas Tuchel. I said it on Twitter yesterday, and I got a lot of stick for it, to be honest. I said, Thomas Tuchel has overtaken Jose Mourinho as my personal favourite ever Chelsea manager. There's a big difference between saying the best Chelsea manager ever and my favourite Chelsea manager ever. People didn't seem to understand that there is a big difference between favourite and best, but that's Twitter for you. Thomas Tuchel today, he got it wrong. That front 3 can never start for Chelsea again, in my opinion. When you've got players like Mason Mount, who's having a wonderful season, Kai Havertz, we know how important that man is in this very fixture. Christian Pulisic, Hakim Ziyech, and Romelu Lukaku cannot start as a front 3 again for Chelsea, in my opinion. There is no cohesion with that front 3 whatsoever. We lack so much of the tenacity, creativity of a Mason Mount. I think the elegance of the way that Kai Havertz glides with the ball would have been something a little bit better today. A bit more physicality amongst those strong Manchester City back line of Walker, Laporte, Stones, Cancelo. They're big, strong players. And Pulisic couldn't get into the game. Ziyech, every time he got the ball, he lost it. And Lukaku, well, we started with him and it just wasn't good enough. I think Tuchel got it wrong. And I think as much as I mentioned it earlier, there's not a box today for urgency for Chelsea because even towards the end of the game, Kepa had the ball and he stopped it from going out for a corner. And there's absolutely nobody in front of him. This is in injury time in the second half. There is nobody screaming to get forward when Chelsea have only got about a minute and a half to go to even try and create something to score an equaliser. Absolutely no drive in this team today whatsoever. And I think sometimes, as much as I love Thomas Tuchel, he's got to take the blame for this result today. And box number 6, the title race is gone. I spoke about it, all about it, earlier in the season, saying Chelsea are in the race. We're in such brilliant form. December has killed us. And now this game today has thrown the soil on top of the coffin. There's absolutely no way on this planet that Manchester City give up top spot in the Premier League again. They are going to canter away to the Premier League title. 12 wins now in the league in a row. And Chelsea are going to come up short. We've got to now make sure we secure our place in the top 4. Try and finish second if we can. Make the most of Liverpool not having Salah and Mane and looking like half a side compared to what they were before when those two were there. But it's over. The title race is over. And I'm just gutted today that it was done in such a feeble manner. I thought Chelsea were useless today. Absolutely pathetic. The substitutions, dreadful. Callum Hudson-Odoi does not know how to cross a ball properly when it comes to Premier League football, in my opinion. I'm sick and tired of seeing him overcook everything and playing it too weak or too soft or too high. It is frustrating. Timo Werner couldn't keep the ball at his feet, kept giving it away, and Mason Mount had 10 minutes to get into the game against one of the best Premier League sides we've ever seen. But anyway, going to wrap this one up here. Gutting result. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Chelsea beaten 1-0. See you guys tomorrow for the news. Come on, you Blues.